Hello, and welcome to St. Louis on Stage this week. St. Louis on Stage celebrates the artists, companies, technicians, and volunteers who bring theater to life across the St. Louis region. As always, we invite you to visit stlouisonstage.com for the latest in local theater. Whether you're an actor updating your resume, a company building its team, a director seeking collaborators, or a patron looking for your next great show, St. Louis on Stage helps our community be seen, discovered, and connected. Please take a moment to like and subscribe and select the notification bell so you'll always know when the latest episode drops. So, on this episode of St. Louis on Stage this week, we put the spotlight on In the Moment. Our first guest is the director of In the Moment, Samantha Ginoplos. Make sure I can pronounce that right. Samantha Ginoplos. Sami hails from Terre Haute, Indiana, and her recent directing credits include quite a few things. Saving Grace at last year's St. Louis Fringe, I believe. Plays for the Planet, that uppity theater company. Spectrum 2025 with First Run Theater. God of Carnage at Wash U. The Lady of the Sea at Indianapolis State University. And Chlamydia in the Closet with Triangle Rainbow Theater. Sami holds an MA in Theater and Performance Studies from Washington University in St. Louis. In addition to her work as a theater artist, she works as the Community Partnerships Coordinator at Opera Theater of St. Louis. She spends her free time as a fiber artist. Sami, welcome to the show. Once I bring you on. There we go.
Hi, Sami. Hi, Troy.
Hi, what a wonderful resume. Oh my gosh. I love all you've done. And she and I will probably talk after some more because I have to hear about all this. Joining Sami is, let me pull this up. Joining Sami is Charlie Meyers, author of In the Moment. Charlie holds an MFA in playwriting from the University of Iowa and is pursuing a PhD in English at St. Louis University. His work has been presented by the St. Louis Shakespeare Festival, the International Human Rights Arts Festival, and the A.E. Hotchner Playwriting Competition. His creative and scholarly work explores queer relationships, performance, and post-collapse worlds. Thank you for joining us, Charlie.
Hello.
Hello. Trying to get us all in here. What have I done? Oh my God. There we go.
Hello.
Hi, how are you doing?
Doing great. So glad to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad both of you are here, and I want to hear all about this production, which opens tomorrow night. Oh my gosh. So you guys are not well rested right now.
We're coming straight out of tech, actually.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for taking the time, and I hope a bunch of people see this and get out to see your show. I'm still going to see if I can possibly get to go see it. So I would like to start, if we can, Samantha, let me ask you, just taking a production and a creative work from creation to fruition to actually being produced, what is that like, or what does it feel like, or why do you do all the hard work, and B, what are the rewards?
Yeah, it's been a blast working on this piece from the beginning. So this isn't the first new work that I've directed, but it's the first piece I've directed that hasn't been workshopped previously. And so it's been really fun to sort of watch the script evolve and get to have brand new conversations with both Charlie, but also our actors, sort of about what the text means, who these characters are, and just watching the conversations that we've had sort of help shape the final product has been really special to me. We started this process doing a lot of table work, which is my favorite way to start any process, really getting into the script.
Right.
But it was super cool to get to know these brand new characters and this brand new story, and to sort of bring Charlie's words to life and to have to really hold a stake in the story, I think has been really special to me. So thank you, Charlie, for letting me into your world.
That's magnificent. Okay, so Charlie, so you've got these characters, and we have to get to know them, but they're also, as with any play, they're in a situation where they have to deal with a lot. How do you balance that? I've got the plot, and I've got this character going through things, and how do I make it a platform for their vulnerabilities and their growth, while also going, and I have to tell a story at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because my first conception of the play actually was almost entirely monologue based. And so there was kind of a lot of exposition because I kind of pictured it like on a reality show because the plot takes place like within a reality show diegetically. And so a lot of it was like confessionals, right? So we kind of in our earlier parts of it, for instance, the character would be like, and here's a paragraph about my relationship to my dead mother, right? And
Right.
straightforward soliloquy about that experience. But after reading that at the table work and then like talking to the actors and sort of seeing it relationally, I added a ton more scenes between them, in large part because the actors had such great chemistry and they were getting so much done talking to each other. But also, it was kind of nice to have the sort of background information of like, yes, if I had 3 pages to talk about Harry's relationship to his dead mother, I know exactly what he'd say. But if it has to be pruned down to like, actually, that detail is mentioned like for 30 seconds in the script, but it's still very much, a huge part of his backstory. So I think it was kind of interesting. Part of our sort of devising process, a lot of it started as more like, here is a monologue about my intentions and my background. And then it became more action oriented. Yeah.
Which the actors' connections brought that out, and different choices they made were based on the monologues that you probably originated, even though it's impacting them, but it's not necessarily the topic at hand. Wow.
Exactly.
Cool. So how do you nurture that, Sami? So they're creating character, working together, but that's not the script yet. So how do you work together? And Charlie, how do you go, but those are the words I wrote, so what do you do?
It's so interesting because I usually, as a director, like to think of myself as the expert on the script, and I hope that my actors can be the expert on their characters. But when the script is ever evolving, no one's an expert on the story besides Charlie, which is exciting. Like it's fresh. It keeps things really interesting and moving in rehearsal. And I think that we were able to really ground ourselves in themes from the start of rehearsal, which has been nice, right? That this is a rom-com with 2 people set in a reality show at the end of the world. And so I think those like having something to hold on to and knowing what story we were telling was quite helpful as we continued to sort of workshop, like, what scenes are working, what confessionals might we be able to pull out for time's sake. And it was really a lot of stop-start work and seeing sort of what we as a team connected to. And then Charlie would take that feedback and make magic out of it, and sort of pull out what worked and, maybe leave some of the baddie stuff that we were coming up with along the way, and craft it into something, a great story, I think.
Yeah. Oh, that's magnificent. Okay. So then passing that to you, Charlie. Well, because the one thing you said, Sami, that hit me too was the things you have to take out for time, but also it's kind of like music. Sometimes the silences are as important. The things we don't hear but we feel are that big. So, so Charlie, I'm going to toss to you if I can, and please always direct it anywhere you'd like to go. If you're like, that's a dumb question, I'm going to answer. That's fine. But my thinking was the only person that's the expert on the story is Charlie. But Charlie, in my own experience, when I write things and I give it to somebody, I've had an actor come up and say, Mr. Did they need to do this, or are they doing it because of that? Oh, I didn't think of that. Maybe they did. And then it adds. So how much of it was already there and how much grew out of that performance? Even the characters' intentions and wants and things come out of what you discovered of the character that they developed, or your inspiration inspired them to inspire you again, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think there was so much of that. I feel like the actors just kept giving me so many gifts. And maybe I feel like they both almost like immediately related to their character. And they're like, I feel like Malcolm was like, yes, Joshua is very like anxious and overly critical of himself, just like me, Malcolm. So, it kind of helped because he's like, yeah, actually, like if I was faced with this situation, this is how I think I would behave. And actually, this is also how I think Joshua would behave. And then I feel like with Harry, with Miles, what's kind of funny is like, my play, it's like, it's like takes place on the gay season of a reality show, and one of the characters is cis and one of the characters is trans. And I feel like Miles was actually able to give me a lot of advice about what cis gay dating culture and stuff was like, in a way, because I have my own background, and he's like, oh yeah, like I totally know what kind of guy Harry is, because part of what Harry is going through is he's like turning 35, and so I feel like his own sort of impending twink death is kind of part of the piece, and so I think it was just interesting because, like, I think Miles was able to help me, like, kind of, and he knows about reality shows too, so sometimes he'd be like, this reminds me of this like episode of The Housewives of Beverly Hills, and that was really helpful. Yeah,
right. And it shows how real it is, because it literally connects to real life, or portrayal of real life that we see that isn't always everything. And I think the thing about all that, while it may be manufactured by a producer, the characters are also, the people are actually withholding and giving things to people, which is so fascinating. And then you take that out when it becomes, it's the end of the world. Suddenly the facade that you create is no longer as important. Were there any time, I don't know, there's so many questions. What are you thinking right now before I derail anything? Is there anything you want to share about it?
I'm thinking about how that was a lot of the conversations that we were having, was like, how much of this is something that you would have rehearsed before recording in the world of the show, or like is part of the mask that you're willing to put on television. And we have two very different characters, right? We have one character that's like, Joshua's like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I've always made fun of people who go on shows like this, and now I'm on a show like this. And then we have one who's a career reality TV star. And so it was really fun to get to play with like the juxtaposition of sort of those two characters, like television mask. And then also like watching the moments where the mask starts to wear off, right? No one from production is there. None of the cast has come back. It's just the two of them stuck in this house together, and sort of playing with what happens when, you're in a manufactured environment and now suddenly there are cameras still on, but no one around, and you're forced to live there in a way that you weren't expecting to. Was, I don't know, it was like rich for play. I think I had a really good time just like sinking my teeth into that concept.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's magnificent. It's, and then there was some comedian that said that the first few dates you go on with a person, you actually, a representative of yourself shows up and plays you for a little while before you let down the mask. And this premise took those characters and put them in a situation where they're doing this. So here's the other thing. Okay, so the thing, and when I write or when I act or when I direct, I'm always saying, what do you want? Just what, how do I say this line? I don't know. What do you want? And help them find it. Kind of like you were saying, Sami, I'm the expert on the script, and I'm the expert in a script where I'm going to hand it to you. What do you want as the character? And let you tell me. Because there is a point where, as they know every single word that character says, they've memorized it. It's become part of them, hopefully. So in a way, they each know their own character better, even if they don't know the vision and the whole. And I'm losing my train of thought. But how did their wants, let me ask you, Charlie, how did the thing they wanted when they entered it change to what they want now in the moment as tragedy strikes, or as, their world is completely shaken up? So now it changes, but in reality, that's probably really what they wanted at their core to begin with. So how did that play out? Does that resonate in any way as a question?
Yeah, I think that's that's a cool question, because I feel like, they both kind of, I think Harry kind of goes on the show because he's basically been on, a season of Love Island, a season of The Bachelor, right? And so now he's kind of like, I want to keep this party going, but he's turning 35. So he's like, oh no, like at a certain point, I'm not some young guy who's being hot on the show. I'm some guy who's just like on some stupid show for 10 years and everybody thinks I'm lame. And then Joshua, I think, almost has more sincere intentions, but almost immediately is like, oh my God, this horrible artificial machine is going to kill me if I don't get out. And I think that in a way, like, I think Harry becomes more open to really authentic love. And I think that Joshua is able to let his guard down a lot more than he did at the beginning, is one way that they definitely changed. And I think for Harry, especially, his first sort of motivation, I think, is kind of continuing to be famous. And then by the end, I think his love for Joshua and, of course, their continued survival are transform into what he wants. Yeah.
Yeah. That's fantastic. And then what they and the character that was new to it, what he wanted may not. Be careful what you wish for. He's on the show.
Yes.
Yeah, and the other person's desperately trying to hold on to the thing that they've had for the last decade or whatever on these shows. I think that those are just rich characters, and then you put them in the situation that says none of that's it anymore, and that's great writing. Okay, so here's what I'd like to say. I'd like each of you to answer this individually if you can. What do you want the conversation after the show to be? They get in the car, they're driving home, and they're going, I liked it, I like this, and and this person did this stuff, and then what questions do they ask? And I believe it's kind of open-ended at the end. So what do you want that conversation to look like? What do you hope? Who's first?
I think I love to imagine the car ride home being like, how do you think this ends? I don't know. I don't want to give too much away. It's such a hard line. But I do think that there's a lot of open-endedness at the end of the show, as far as the fate of our characters and sort of the answer to like what really did happen in this world. And so I think that can generate a lot of like fun and interesting conversation. And that's always, I don't know. I love a lighthearted piece that like leaves people having fun conversations rather than like sometimes, I don't know, sometimes you need to like take the weight off of your shoulders. I think also like I've been spending this whole time thinking like, oh my God, what would I do on a reality TV show if I was being recorded all the time?
Yes, right. That is perfect though, because it related to you then. You went, all right, I'm going to put this on me. What would I do? That's great. All right, Charlie.
I have no good answer. It's like, it seems terrible to me. So one thing to consider but not live, maybe.
Yes. No, I just want the mask up all the time. They can believe I'm awesome. They're wrong, but that's okay. Okay, and Charlie, what were you thinking?
Yeah, well, and it's funny, you say that because, one of the sort of conceits of the play is that as far as they know, the cameras are still running, even though they aren't sure whether the signal is going anywhere. So essentially, even while they're trying to survive, they don't ever know if they're still being documented or not. So I think there's just like other mysteries that people will definitely be sort of debating in the car on the way home about the ending or about the sort of apocalypse or ish conditions. I think that, I think one thing that's interesting too is like, this is more of a comedy. Like, yes, it has this sort of collapse, apocalypse vibe that people will have curiosity about. But it's just interesting because the last play Sami and I worked on together was such a tragedy, kind of. It was like really much about a person's death and people recovering from that death. And so I'm sure a lot of the conversations after that play were like, this reminds me to cherish community. And I feel like, or something like that. Whereas I feel like this play is more like, oh, that was really fun. And like, oh, or even like, oh, do you think that was a reference to like The Bachelor? I feel like people who are like more familiar with these kinds of shows might be like, oh, because like we have something called the branch ceremony. So I feel like people who know The Bachelor will be like, oh, that's like a rose ceremony, you know? So I think there will definitely be some conversations from people who are genre savvy about the little Easter eggs too.
Right. Absolutely. Well, because I'm curious how people will struggle with what they think will happen to the characters, what they want to happen with the characters. That's always the thing. Okay, well, dramatically, they're probably going to do this, but man, I picture them doing this because that's what. Yeah, and with a light comedy, you're actually that's not as hard of a struggle to like it's fine either way because it was fun. But yeah, and I wonder if you guys dug into this more because you dealt with such a heavy topic previously. So even for your own psyche, you wanted, okay, can I just breathe on the next one a little bit? What was the last show? Was that last Fringe or was? Yeah, and that was.
Grace.
Oh, that's right. I read that. Yes. Yeah. Okay, before I forget, I want to make sure that we remember when this is happening. So stlouisfringe.org, and it's my mic's right in front of everything. Oh, so 5:30 the next 2 days, and then 11:30 on Sunday.
Yep, at the Marcelle.
At the Marcelle. Fantastic. And make sure you go to the site. You can use the QR code up here to do this. Okay, so one more quick question. What's up next for both of you? You got another show planned? You got... What do you think, Charlie? What are you up to next? Have you already started?
I'm in the training program at the Improv Shop. So my team will be performing every Monday night at 7. So if anybody ever wants to come see some amateur improv, I'll be doing that. And then I have some like academic conferences and publications. I'm going to Seattle in November to talk about the poet John Clare. So,
okay. And I'm not familiar with John Clare. So now I have to look that up. Thanks a lot.
He's a romantic poet, but he's pretty cool.
Yeah. Fantastic. And Sami?
I have a few things quietly in development, but nothing publicly announced on the theater front. So if anyone needs a director, here I am.
Oh, yeah. And please, and we are trying to develop. So we're trying to develop every part of St. Louis on Stage. Directors, so you can connect in any way. I need a lighting person. Let me go on there. You can actually put your resume on there. I don't know if this is all running, but it will be in the next few weeks. You can put your own resume on there so people can find you. And we could just, make this community into its own single ensemble of everybody finds somebody and everybody works together. So maybe we'll have some resources for you. Maybe not. I don't know. And then also, now, are you pursuing any academic things, Sami? Because I know, Charlie, you're pursuing your PhD, right? So
I am not. I finished my MA in 2024. Charlie and I were in the same graduating master's class at WashU, and so now I'm full time at Opera Theater of St. Louis, which is great. We're a spring festival season, so we're not currently in season. But if anyone is into opera and would specifically like to see some community events, let me know, and I can hook you up with a community events calendar.
Absolutely, and could you check for us and see if that's already on stlouisonstage.com, if the calendar's on there? Because the idea isn't necessarily they only go to us, but once they go there, they can click to anything. Yeah. And like I said, last night and this morning, I sent somebody, here's another company. Here's another. I mean, honestly, if you don't know some groups and names and where to find them on Facebook, you don't know they exist. It's which is sad because we all want to go to shows. And I definitely need to explore opera. I've been told this recently as we've done this, that I don't know it. I don't know. I have no problem with it. So, guys, I think this is the coolest premise for a play. I'm going to finish reading the script no matter what I do, and I'll be in touch. But hopefully you'll see me there. Hopefully we'll get to meet in person because we haven't got to do that yet. I think this was a fantastic show. But before we go, is there anything else you guys want to say before we go?
Charlie?
Just I hope everybody has a lot of fun. And this isn't like a cap off thing, but one thing I wanted to mention is like one of the cool things about the sort of like the facade turning into survival is that it's supposed to be like an eco living thing as a gimmick, but that's like one of the reasons they survive. So I think that's cool. Yeah.
Little things you were saying, I was like, oh yeah, like the branch and terminology, and there was one I was going to comment on because Charlie, I loved what you did when he is realizing I'm the guy that made fun of him, but then I'm actually on one, and then he rephrases. So I mean, I guess I am the person that would not. It was, I thought it was wonderful, and it just felt real, and and he's self-observing, he's self-analyzing right in that moment about himself while he's on the show already. So anyway, fascinating. Well, thank you so much, guys. So this has been another fantastic episode of St. Louis on Stage this week. I want to thank our guests for so generously giving their time during Tech Week. And I want to thank all of you for watching, listening, and supporting St. Louis Theater. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and hey, go see a play.